Hey students, before you get started with this video, make sure your math notebook is open in front of you. You're going to take these notes on the right-hand side and you'll use the left-hand side for those Edpuzzle questions, entry tasks, or any other notes you take during our class time together. So the name of our section today is 6.5, and it is all about the coordinate plane. Our learning target today is I can identify and plot ordered pairs. So the first thing we're going to do is actually define an ordered pair. An ordered pair is a location. It's a location in our coordinate plane using x, comma, y. So an ordered pair always looks like this. It's two numbers inside parentheses and they are separated by a comma. Each number tells us something about the location of our point. So what we're going to do now is talk about the coordinate plane and how we use this location, how we use this ordered pair to find where that point is in the coordinate plane. So now we're talking about coordinate plane. So a coordinate plane is something that has two axes, a vertical axis and a horizontal axis. So it looks like a giant addition symbol. So there's our vertical axis, and here's our horizontal axis. Each of these have a name. So our horizontal, our axis that goes side to side, is called the x-axis. I always think of it as x goes across. And then our vertical axis, the one that goes up and down, that one is called the y-axis. I always remember this one by saying y to the sky. So x goes across, y goes to the sky. Before I talk any more about the coordinate plane, I want to talk about the very middle point here. So this very center point has a special name. It is called the origin. The reason it's called the origin is because when we are finding ordered pairs in our coordinate plane, we always start here. We originate here. That's why it's called the origin. The location of the origin is 0, 0. That is because its x value is 0. We haven't moved on the x-axis at all, so its value is 0. And its y value is 0. We haven't gone up or down on the y-axis at all, so y is 0. Okay? So the center point is called the origin. Its location, its ordered pair is 0, 0. The reason I wanted to talk about that is because now I want to talk about positives and negatives in relation to the coordinate plane. So if we look at our x-axis, we see that there are two options. We can move to the right or we can move to the left. This is because the right side represents the positive x values. So everything greater than 0, everything to the right is a positive x value. And the left side represents negative x values. So if we move to the left, if we move less than 0, those are our negative x values. With the y-axis, we have the same options. Okay, so we have a positive side and a negative side. If we move up, if we move above or greater than 0, those are our positive y values. And if we move down, if we move below or less than 0, those are our negative y values. So our origin, where we originate, is the location 0, 0. And then we've now discussed which directions are positive and which directions are negative. The next thing I want to talk about is what each of these little 4 pieces is called. So each of these 4 sections has a special name. They are called quadrants. So this one right here is quadrant 1. And a lot of times you're going to see it referred to as Q Roman numeral 1. So it kind of looks like QI a little bit. In quadrant 1, all of our ordered pairs have a positive x value because we're going to the right on the x-axis. And they all have a positive y value because everything is going up in the y direction. So if you ever have an ordered pair with two positive values, positive x and positive y, it's going to fall in quadrant 1. Now, if we move to the left, this guy's called quadrant 2. This one is often referred to as Q Roman numeral 2, so it looks like that. In quadrant 2, you will see we're to the left side of our origin, so that means all of our x values are negative, and we are above the origin, so all of our y values are positive. So every ordered pair, every location in quadrant 2 has a negative x and a positive y. Now we're going to move down here to quadrant 3. This one is often referred to as Q Roman numeral 3, like that. In quadrant 3, we are to the left side of the origin, so all of our x values are negative, and we are also below the origin, so that means all of our y values are negative as well. So every location, every ordered pair in quadrant 3 has a negative x and a negative y. And then last but not least, this one over here, quadrant 4. Quadrant 4, often referred to as Q Roman numeral 4, so that looks like an IV. In quadrant 4, we are to the right of the origin, so that means all of our x values are positive. We are also below the origin, so that means all of our y values are negative. So every ordered pair, every location in quadrant 4 has a positive x and a negative y. The reason I want to go through all of that is because now we're going to talk about how we can look at an ordered pair and figure out where it belongs, where we want to plot it on our coordinate grid. So we're going to do some examples. I'm just going to really quick draw another coordinate plane so that we can use it to help us. So this is y-axis, this is x-axis, positive, negative, positive, negative. And then we want to remember the middle guy is called the origin, and its location is 0, 0. So what we're going to do is I am going to write an ordered pair. Our first one is going to be negative 2, 3. And we are going to write some directions for us to get to that ordered pair. We are basically going to describe to someone, this is how you would get to that spot. This is how you would plot that point, that dot on your coordinate plane. So the first thing we need to remember is that our ordered pair always represents x and then y. So our first value represents the x value. The second value represents the y value. As we're giving directions, we always want to remember to start at the origin. So we always start by putting our pen on the origin. First, we're going to look at the x direction. We are going to walk in the x direction. So we're going to say, okay, if x is negative 2, does that mean I move left 2 or right 2? Well, if we look at our coordinate plane, the left side is the negative x's. So that means we're going to move left 2 spots. So our pen started in the middle, in the origin, and we moved left 2 spots. Now we need to jump in the y direction. We're going to either jump up or down. It's a positive 3, so we need to decide, does that mean we jump up 3 or do we jump down 3? Well, the positive y's are up, so we're going to go up 3. And wherever your pen ends up then is where you put your dot, where you plot your point. So we would start at the origin, we would move left 2 spots, up 3 spots, and that's where our dot would go. Let's try another one. I'm going to have 0, negative 3.5. So again, we've got to remember first value is x, second value is y. We always start our directions by saying start at origin. We always start in the middle. We're going to walk in the x direction. So we say, all right, x is 0. So how far and which direction am I going to walk? Well, it looks like I'm not walking anything. It says 0. I'm not going anywhere. So I don't need to move in the x direction at all. That means I can move on to the y. Our y value is negative 3.5. Negative means we jump down, and 3.5 tells us we're going to go down 3.5 units. So we start at origin, we go down 3.5 units, and that's where we put our dot. That's where we plot our point. Last example, 3, -1. Again, I always like to write x and y so I remember which value means which. We always start at origin. We always want our pen in the same starting position, right in the middle. The x direction, we're going to walk in the x direction. It's a +3. Positive x's are to the right, so that means we're going to go right 3. We're going to move to the right 3 units. Now we are ready to jump. We're either going to jump up or down. Our y value is -1. Negative means we are moving down, so we're going to go ahead and jump down 1. So we start at the origin, we move our pen 3 spaces to the right, 1 space down, and that's where we plot our point. That is where we put our dot.